Okay, so in this video, I would like to show you how to find your TDC or top dead center. You know, just in case there wasn't already enough videos on the internet about this topic. Okay, so imagine that this is our engine. First thing we should do to be able to measure anything at all is to set up some kind of a reference point. In my case, I chose to set it over here. The next thing I'm going to do is to remove the spark plug and put a long bolt in its place. The job of this bolt will be to stop the piston from reaching the top dead center. Next, I'll rotate the slice of pizza crank counterclockwise until the piston gently touches the bolt, and use the reference arrow to make my mark number 1 on the crankshaft pulley. Then, I'll repeat the same process, rotating the crank clockwise, and put my mark number 2 on the pulley. Now, if the measurements are done properly, the top dead center should be right in the middle of those two marks. And if we line up the TDC mark with the reference point, the piston should be exactly at the top dead center. Let's get to the job, shall we? Since this engine doesn't have a pulley, I'll take some measurements in order to 3D print something we can use for making the marks. Why 3D printing, you may ask? Well, let me explain you something, alright? If you have a 3D printer, there are two things you should know. The first one is you have to make sure everyone knows you have a 3D printer. The second one is you have to use 3D printing to solve absolutely everything, even though there might be 10 better ways of solving it. Anyway, let's use those measurements and translate them into something useful by throwing them into Fusion 360. Here, I don't need nothing fancy, just a simple part created mainly using extrusion with a little pin in the inside cylinder to prevent the part from rotating with respect to the crankshaft. Okay, now let's test fit this masterpiece of engineering. Here we go, first time lucky, and apart from a small issue with the elephant's foot, the part fits nicely. The subsequent steps are pretty straightforward. First, we will mark our reference point on the engine block, then we remove the spark plug, then we grab our bolt and insert it into the cylinder cavity. We rotate the engine one way until the piston hits the bolt, make our mark number 1, then we rotate the engine the other way, make our mark number 2, we draw a segment between those 2 points, we find the midpoint of this segment, and with the help of a square we use it to find our TDC mark. Finally, we put our part again on the engine, line our reference point with a TDC mark, and there you have it. Your engine is now at top dead center.